Even though they say that the reports out there in the media is suspicious, that government has not made any formal position known on this one, but the report does highlight the fact that a total of $183 million, that's about 28.73 billion naira in signature bonuses paid by oil companies to the government or to the federation was missing. And so you say it's not news, but what do people expect? I mean, if they expect that these chaps who may be found guilty, maybe eventually are found guilty, or even government taking a step on this, well, let me even ask from that. Let's start with that one. Do you expect that at the end of the day, if a white paper comes up on this one, they should go the whole hog and act on it? Or you think
you see,
maybe they'll be expecting too much?
You see, they could act on it. They may say they will act on it and not act on it. For me, that will not be my own take on how the issue should be solved.
What will it be?
First of all, if you take most developed nations that have succeeded over time, it's because they are built on systems. One of the first things we need to ask is that what is the system that has ensured that $183 billion get missing? Has somebody asked questions within the Ministry of Finance, within the CBN, to ask about how are these processes documented? Because you see, it is processes that stay. It is not people. People will come and they will go. And that is why you look at a place like America, no matter how a president feels, there are certain things he's not going to change or be able to change even if he wants, no matter how rascally he is. So we need to ask questions about our systems.
But people
our
run
budgeting
these systems.
Yes. But then again, systems have checks and balances. That's why they are called systems. In other words, once somebody does something, there should be a repercussion. There should be another body, which is part of the system, that will now check it. Okay. Then there will be another body that checks the body.
But systems are corrupt.
No, is the question
isn't a possibility?
The question I wanted to ask you is, do we even have the systems? As if you say systems have checks and balances.
Yes.
In our industry as it stands, do we have any system functioning?
Of course we do have systems.
But
I'm not part of the industry,
and
I cannot speak for the Ministry of Finance or NNPC or the Ministry of Petroleum Resources or even OPEC, because we do have a department of OPEC and all that. But I want to believe very strongly, and I say this with every purpose, that there are systems in place. One of the reasons why systems can be corrupt is because they are not transparent and because people also don't demand to know. Like I said, you have the media with the Freedom of Information Bill have a right to ask questions. Civil society organizations have a right to ask questions. Those who are part of the system, who are benefiting from the imperfections in the systems, are not going to ask questions. But it is our own responsibility as stakeholders, and I say that purpose that we are genuinely stakeholders, to live up to the realities of our expectations by asking questions. And yes, they can punish a few people and people will shout hooray and all that, but it's also a wrong part of our culture. It's a pulling down syndrome. In other words, they just want a victim. But it's not so much as getting a victim or getting people persecuted and all that. Let us look at the system that will take care of legitimate people who want to do business. Let them look at systems that will see how such amount of corruption can come into place.
Do you think that people should do it together, maybe in form of a group, or they should do it as individuals? Because you said you don't want to use the word mafia. You use the word establishment instead. You should go asking questions, well, something that's already an establishment. Don't you think that you run a risk to your life?
Well, it depends on what you're asking. You're not exactly affecting their business or anybody's business as at that.
Are you sure?
The thing is this. When I got involved when I started to get into the energy industry, a lot of people felt I was approaching a black hole, and I didn't know what I was doing. And there is that mystic about energy all over the world, and particularly here. But then again, the fact remains that that is where 75% of our income comes from. If 75% of our income provides 75% of employment, we won't have unemployment issues in this country. And there are possibilities for that. Because when people talk oil and gas, the first thing people think about is trading. You bring in some AGO from Russia or Venezuela or from Vitol in Switzerland and all that. But there's a whole lot more to it. I mean, there's upstream activities. I mean, and you can do so many things in that area, from even welding, underwater welding, pipeline cleaning in midstream. Before you now start going to downstream activities, there's a whole range of things that can happen. And there are equipments that these people use. There are training facilities that they do. We have intelligent people in this country. We can be part of that whole supply chain from the beginning to the end. But if people don't even know, how are they going to be part of the system?
That question now is, the local content law we have,
yes,
is it indeed operational as it should be? You talked about Norway and the way theirs is functioning.
Yes.
What we have now, is it operational? Can it help Nigerians get to know what's going on in this industry?
First of all, the question is, has it been passed into law? We need to pass it into law to know whether it's going to be operational. But aside from that, from the little that I know about the way the oil companies are operating at the moment, they are genuinely interested in engaging local companies. In fact, Chevron has an advert. We believe, and the words there is, we believe big oil should support small companies. In other words, if you are, well, that likely should mean that if you are a much smaller company, you're a local company, and you have capacity to influence certain subsections of their business, to be willing to look into it. But guess what? How many people even know that? How many people know the areas that are possible there? And how many people want to engage them? And if we don't know that, we will spend all our time pursuing crumbs, whereas these things are there. And the whole thing will be that it's oil and gas. It's this mystical thing. You understand? We're not talking about changing the price of crude oil here. We're just talking about the fact of being part of a system and ensuring that the very basic things of life, I mean, the end of poverty, Vision 2020, can affect the lives of general Nigerians.
But do you think enough has been done to demystify? What do you think should demystify that particular sector?
Well, it's like saying, who is responsible for getting you educated? The first thing is that there's a responsibility for the individual. There's the responsibility for the entrepreneur. There's a responsibility for government. But guess what? Government does not run business. Like the labor union said in the past, Governor Shemele, when he said, government has no business in business. Government has a business to set policies. And those policies are what they are doing with petroleum industry bill and all that. They create an enabling environment. Then it is the responsibility of the people to probe, to ask questions. Unfortunately, there are certain things in place that will enable the asking of questions. And those things are like the laws that are being passed. There's the Freedom of Information Bill and all that. Like I said, we need to test those things.